So I wanted to talk a little bit about the best side hustles you can do while you're in physical therapy school. And there's a couple things you want to think about if you're good with your time management and with your study habits, like I mentioned in the last video. These can give you enough time to go and find some habits you can do during physical therapy school that can make you just a little bit of extra money on the side. So the first thing I recommend is you can try doing tutoring at the school. And there's a few reasons why tutoring is really nice. So the nice thing with tutoring is that during your second year in physical therapy school, it allows you to go back through the material from the first year and teach that to the first year students. And it's good because a lot of this material is circulating throughout their curriculum in the second year, so you're able to build off of that material. And it also preps you for the board exams. So there's kind of a twofold reason why going through that material from the first year is nice, just because we have such a large volume of material that we learn that it's hard to go through and remember everything in your first pass, right? So this gives you a chance to go through and relearn that, and it's actually really good to be able to teach that information to someone as a form of learning. It actually is a really good way to learn, especially your second time through. And on top of that, you're getting paid for it. Now, it's not a huge payment, so at our school at least, you get paid like $15 an hour. So it's not huge, but the nice thing is, like, you're already at the school, you set up a time schedule, so there's usually a few other tutors as well, at least at our school, so you're going to kind of coordinate between them to find times that work for everybody. But usually it's like you go for a couple hours after school, a few days a week, and some of them I think even go to like 10 p.m. So if you're in a situation where like you don't really need to go home for any reason earlier, then you can just stay at the school and tutor some kids, and it's just a really good way to learn and make some money on the side. So that's definitely, I think, one of the top options you can do as a physical therapy student. The second thing I would look at could be doing landscaping, and this is what I personally do. Now, the nice thing with landscaping is that it's pretty easy to set up, at least for the people that I've worked for here in the community. A lot of times they already have their own gardening tools. So really, you're not trying to like reinvent the wheel and spending a lot of overhead on all this equipment. Really, what you have to do is reach the people and find like more simple projects, right? You're not trying to do anything crazy, but just doing some weeding, lawn mowing, edging and trimming bushes, things like that. Even just moving around some plants for them, moving vases, stuff like that. It's usually nothing too crazy, and it's a good way to make like $20 to $25 an hour. And I mean, like, everyone has a yard, and at least here in Oregon, like during the months from like May through September, there's a lot of things in bloom, so you can do a lot of different jobs there. And it's a pretty good option if you're fine being outdoors. You can throw in some headphones and listen to like an audiobook or listen to a physical therapy podcast and just do some like mindless work if there's no training needed ahead of time. So that's a pretty good option as well that I recommend. And you can even go like door to door and ask, or message on Facebook. And there's a lot of like community groups that you can reach out to, where it's like this town has like a shared Facebook page, like where all the moms are. So you can just throw in there like, hey, does anyone need any yard work? Especially reaching out to like older populations where they might not be able to get to their yards as easily anymore. That's a really good population to look for. And you're already kind of doing a lot of that outreach work anyways in physical therapy school with making connections in the community. So try to utilize some of those connections for extra work. And speaking on communications you can have within the school, also remember that a lot of the physical therapy schools, because they have so much outreach in the community, you can also leverage some of those platforms to reach people as well. Like our school has like a Facebook group for the cohort and for all the alumni. So that's also a good way to reach out and try to find local jobs as well. And then another side hustle I think is really good is personal training. And there's a few reasons why personal training is pretty good. So first of all, with personal training, you're going to have like a pretty similar path to physical therapy. And the reason is you're already learning a lot of this material in physical therapy school, and it's like a pretty good path to go on, because a lot of times your undergrad, you already have done exercise science or kinesiology as a major, right? So when you go over to physical therapy, it's like it's like a natural segue, and there's a lot of gyms in the area that you can apply to, and there's also usually pretty decent pay, I would say. Like, it's definitely not super high either, but At least at the gym I worked at in Phoenix, I was making like 25 to 27 an hour. So it's probably a little bit higher than what you make, like, let's say, tutoring. And you're also doing a lot of like client-facing work, right, one-on-one, which is kind of similar to what you're doing as a PT anyway. So again, like, you can hone in your skills on working with patients while you're doing personal training. And even if you're in a position to kind of sell yourself higher, being like, hey, I'm getting a doctoral level of education in this area, so there's a lot of crossover where I can give you probably even better education in areas than a standard personal trainer could. And you don't necessarily need to get like a personal training certification. Just because I had my background with an exercise science degree, that was already just enough to get me in the door and get started as a personal trainer. So again, not a lot of overhead. You don't have to take any courses or anything like that. So those are probably my top three that you can do in PT school. But also try to think of leveraging what skills you already have. Like, if you play an instrument, or if you're good at like tutoring math, like, find your skills that you're good at and then use those to form a side hustle. So comment below and let me know what you did in PT school to have a side hustle, make some extra income.